Hello again, everyone. This is Greg from AcuPower, and I'm going to run you through the supply chain management video. I'll be taking the points of view of two different people, one of which is the production coordinator and purchasing agent. You'll see that person operating in the red background here, and then the customer service agent will take over for orchestrating all of the orders, and you'll see them in a different color background. Theirs is going to be blue. So let's jump into that, where production control operator has to look at supply and demand of everything they need to control their work. This is called MRP, but you don't have to be a manufacturer for it. You can be a distributor and only buying and selling products, but this one is manufacturing as well. Supply chain, it really is the same thing. So within this whole manufacturing flow, the MRP is the iterative cycle of knowing your demand, so deciding what you need to purchase, transfer from other warehouses, or produce. And then from that, you might have more demand, say, for example, for subassemblies. So we now need to order or build those subassemblies. So that's an iterative process, and it generally is computing intensive. So it's run overnight, say at 2 in the morning for half an hour every day. So let's go through some of the things behind that, some of the sources of demand. So in the inventory management workspace, let me just in that. So here's my inventory planning. Can generate forecasts based on what we have already done. So this allows us to look at last year's or the previous year's consumption, and we want to order the same or perhaps at a growth rate. Let's say we want to add 10%, and we're going to go back 3 years, and we want to put 60% of the weight on just last year. We can set up those type of settings, perhaps regular, perhaps seasonal, and run it filtered, maybe one warehouse at a time, one item class at a time. Choose the items that matter by cherry picking our boxes here and running that process. Once all of that gets run, it will go and build a forecast for us, and they'll land here. So hypothetically, we've already gone and run all of these forecasts. Nothing stopping us from hitting the plus sign and adding a new item, or from loading things from a spreadsheet. So if you have a forecast already done in another spreadsheet, you just need to map your column heads and load the whole thing in here without retyping anything. That's one source of demand. Another for manufacturers is they can have a master production schedule, which also includes machine time and lead times in a more complicated plan. So once all of those things are ready, the process of running MRP is the one I was talking about being iterative. You can see level 1, level 2, level 3. Generally, customers are going to take this, schedule it to run at some time, perhaps once a day in the middle of the night. So they come in the morning, and this whole process has been run. Small demo database, so we'll see it happen in less than a minute, but they would expect this to take 20 minutes in the middle of the night. They don't want to wait for it. Come in the morning, it's ready for them. A note about cloud software, spinning wheels, doesn't matter. Just open another browser tab and keep working. So that process is running up in the cloud. So 2 things left for that planning department to do. They need to look at the inventory planning display and decide what they need to buy and what they need to build. But there's also transfers, there are also kits. But they're going to decide one thing at a time. First of all, the action date when I need to take action is most important, I'm going to drag that over to the left. Then perhaps I'm going to say what I do with that's next most important, and I'm going to put a filter at the top. Pretending I'm the purchasing agent needs to see only purchasing, and perhaps see only this month or this week or just today, and they're going to be given a list of things that they need to do. So they can scroll across and see, who do I buy them from? Why are they here? They're on a forecast, they're on min-max, they're on any number of reasons they need to be purchased. So they can go and choose each item by vendor, and I'm going to create a purchase order to this particular vendor, or I can click all of those and do a purchase order for those and create my purchase order. And that'll run. And that purchase order is now going to be created so that it can be automatically sent to the vendor. And we're going to have our golf bag stand in the right place at the right time because of all the planning we have done. Hand the baton over to the production controller. He wants the same view with the exception of he cares about manufacturing rather than purchasing. Let me just choose a wider date here. So for the dates he has to work with, he can say, oh, perhaps I want to make those hinges. They're due this month. I can click on those two and go and make myself my production orders. And if the hinge has any sub-assemblies, make the production orders for the sub-assemblies too, and create those, get those down to the plant floor. So that's the MRP side of the supply chain. How do you know what to do, when to do it, taking lead times into account? So let's change personas here and act like the customer service agent. Customer service agent has quite a different set of problems to deal with. They have any number of orders they need to fulfill from any number of warehouses, where not every warehouse has every item you need. So let's go through and look at something called order orchestration. And it is based on things called fulfillment plans. So I'm just going to search the word plan and find it right there. I find the search much easier than going through the menu system, but to each his own. So we've got a couple of different kinds of plans. One plan which is based on the warehouse. So in this situation, when they have large orders going to big retailers, this sporting goods company, they're going to ship those from the wholesale warehouses because they expect to have the most of each item at a single place. But when they have consumer orders, they're going to ship those by what's the closest warehouse to minimize the shipping cost. So north, south, east, and west have their own zones. So let's have a look at the wholesale plan. We'll say we will ship wholesale orders from default wholesale warehouse, but if we can't fulfill an order from there, then we're going to use the next warehouse and then the retail warehouse and then another warehouse. So we're going to choose the order of priority of those. But for south shipping zone, they'll have a totally different choice of warehouses that are designed for item picking rather than pallet picking. So they're going to go to the retail warehouse first and then the service warehouse. So they've got their own plan. How do you know which to use? You choose that in order types. You can have as many order types as you want. The typical sales orders, cash sales, returns. There are as many kinds as you want right here, but we've set up one of them. Of an e-commerce order, these are the consumer small orders, 1 or 2 items. So we've set that up that when it is a e-commerce order, we're going to ship by the destination priority based on the customer's location. So a customer's location will say whether they're north, south, east, or west, where on other order types, you might say, we're going to ship that by warehouse priority. So let me show you uh, what I mean by the customer location or the customer zone. So I've got my favorite screen here, which is called business accounts, and I like it because of the side panels. So as I was to look at this customer here, Alta Ace, I'd be able to say, oh, tell me about them. What are their shipping rules? So I can open the customer card here, synchronized to the list, and say that Alta Ace might have a particular zone, and I can choose that I can add them to the south zone and save it and take AA services perhaps. So sorry, their vendor take this school, and this now automatically synchronizes and say they're at west. So that's where ship vias, meaning choice of courier, comes from, and the choice of shipping zone comes from. So now let's have a look at the sales orders that have come in. So here's the sales orders in a list view, and they've got their own side panels. So as I'm looking at orders here, I might want to see what are the statuses of orders for that customer over beside it. So this sales order is for a customer that has a lot of open orders going to the same customer. But what I want to filter and show you here is a couple more things. On any of these lists, I can make permanent filters that I get saved. So here I'm looking at all the orders. What if I only want to see open e-commerce orders, and I can see I have 3 of those. They're coming in automatically from BigCommerce, from Shopify. They just land here because of the integration. Or I can say, what are my big wholesale orders? Those might be coming in from EDI automatically, or sales reps could be actively entering those as they talk to their major customers. So let's take some of these orders and orchestrate them. So if we go and look at perhaps this 8501, it's an e-commerce order. So it's only got a few items on it, but we've got a computer, we've got noise canceling headphones, a desktop computer, a VGA card, and you can see that occasionally we're getting these little warnings in here that if I hover on that, there's not enough quantity in the warehouse to fulfill that from the original planned warehouse. Down at the bottom, you can see that on hand we have 208 of these items, but minus 14 are available. So while there's lots in the warehouse, there isn't actually lots compared to what we've ordered. So click on the item availability. So while we're hovering on that line, hit item availability and say, why is it making me, telling me I can't have this? And you can see item by item, warehouse by warehouse. You can say there's 208 available. And here's all the sales orders we have in play, including some big replenishment orders, which are cleaning this out. So we can actually go and click or double click on the warehouse and see where else they are. So we can look that up in a couple of different ways, but okay, we've got lots over in the retail warehouse. So we can take this order and manually go and hit this orchestrate order button, and it will go and make the suggestion of what warehouses we should use for the best way to fulfill this whole order. And it will say, oh, we should be shipping the first line from retail, the second line from retail, the third line from retail, and but the fourth item, that's in wholesale. So we're going to ship that from 2 warehouses. That's the best way to deal with this order. So we can save that and make that into a shipment, meaning make that available to pick and pack for the warehouse. So create shipment. That's now available to the warehouse. Now, of course, we've got a day's worth of orders. Nobody wants to spend their time going through this one click at a time, one order at a time. So we're going to do that as a process. So here we've got our transactions and our processes. In general, anything you can do as a transaction, you can do as a batch or a process. And anything you do as a process, you can do as a schedule. That's just like the schedule we'd use for MRP. So we can have this automatically do it itself an hour. So we don't have to come in and do these clicks you're seeing me do. You can do this without. So this customer service agent will either schedule or come in and click the orchestrate order button and see all the other EO type of orders and say, do the same thing for all of them. So we will go through, run order orchestration for everything. Then the customer service agent is going to say, now I got to make them available to the floor. So let's go and make those all into shipments. And then the warehouse is now ready to start picking up their guns and start picking and packing all of these orders. So let me jump ahead to that for a moment. Just have to wake my gun back up. So here's what the floor is seeing on a mobile terminal. Android barcode scanner coming out the end, soft keypad. You can get them with hard keypads. Rugged enough for 5-foot drop heights concrete. And I'm going to take one of these shipments and show you how that works. So under the shipments list, so these are the sales orders that have been promoted to the warehouse. There'll be a number of these that are ready to go. And the one that I'd prepared here, I can see it's got an attachment. So I'm going to open on a screen. If I wanted to use full screen for pick, pack, and ship, I could go through all of these, double check my shipping, my locations, all of those things, and go and enter my quantity picked and my quantity packed. But we want the speed on the shop floor. So we're going to, in one of our automations, we can automatically make that picking list come out right on the printer, right down in the warehouse, or they could go paperless. So here on the mobile, somebody's going to come and hit the button for I'm going to pick, pack, and ship. First thing it's going to ask them to do is enter what shipment number. Then it's going to say, what location are you in? Hopefully there'd be a location up on the racking. And I have a copy of that barcode over here. And there it is. You're going to scan the rack. Then you're going to scan the item. Note they're looking for a quantity of 10. So they're going to hit that set quantity button and either type or scan the barcode for 10. Let me just get a barcode for that ready. Okay, so it has added 9 to that item, and we can take that whole order and say that is now complete. And up in my 3 buttons here, I'm going to confirm that I've picked and now leave it for the shipping department to pack and ship. Or if it's already in the box, depending on our process, I'd be able to go and ship that as well. So that runs you through everything from source of supply to purchasing to production to taking multiple orders, all competing for limited resources across numerous warehouses to find the best way to ship orders from particular places to actually transacting them on the plant floor. Thank you very much. That concludes my demo.